Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in, folks. It's another bullish day in the crypto market. I hope you are all doing well. Want to check in on where the market's at as Bitcoin continues its pullback, and I'll highlight some of the things I mentioned in this past week's newsletter that potentially could see 109,000. Let's see how far down this goes. Rodders, great to have you. Thank you for tuning in. Gus Sell, welcome in. Great to have you. Skrilla the Gorilla, welcome in. Thank you for joining. We got lots to talk about. What's happening in this bull market? James Kanoy, welcome in. How you doing? Great to have you. Nachai, if I'm saying that right, good morning. Yeah, I'm trying to get Commissioner Hester Peirce and even Chair Paul Atkins on the podcast to talk about all these things. Etron, great to have you. 48, great to have you as well. So if I get the interview with either Commissioner Peirce or Paul Atkins, I will definitely ask about the Ripple lawsuit and what's been going on there. I'm sure it's going to wrap up soon. I think what we saw with SEC Chair Paul Atkins announcing Project Crypto, which is to help give guidance on what's a security, what's not. I think maybe that was the holdup, especially for a lot of the other ETFs that have been delayed by the SEC. So that's my thesis on it, and it seems logical. So I'll try to get some from the SEC to talk about this. Marcio, great to have you. Eric DM 101, great to have you from Holland. Welcome in. James Kanoy says, let's get these lows in so we can get moving upwards. Absolutely. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because despite the pullback, which is actually very healthy, everything's still on track. When in doubt, zoom out. Everything is still on track, guys. And that's not BS. Like, I'm literally looking at the data. I have skin in the game. I'm with all of you because I want to make money too, right? I definitely want to be cashing out some crypto because I have financial plans. But the point is, there's nothing detrimental, scary. There's no end of world scenario here. It's just simple corrections. So I'll share all the details with you guys. Michael Crops, great to have you from the UK. Z-Boy, good to have you from San Antonio, Texas. David R. Morla, great to have you. Folks, on your way in, please hit the thumbs up button. Smash that thumbs up button. Hit the heart button, the like button, whichever platform you're watching and listening on. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, of course, Twitch, X, Rumble, Kick.com. So we're blasting on many platforms today. So be sure to hit that thumbs up, folks. And subscribe if you haven't as yet. Rupa, great to have you. Why is the market going down even as chances of... Because it's market cycles. I'll explain. Markets move in cycles. They can't keep going up based on positive news. They have to reset as far as sentiment and then, continue from there. So let me actually pull up the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index so we can use that as a benchmark as well. Bitcoin Fear and Greed. It's good to have that as a measuring stick. Looks like a little bit back in greed, even though there was a bit of a cool down recently. All right, guys, let's kick it off so we can navigate the waters here and what's happening in this crypto market. Great to have all of you. Once again, smash the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. Okay, so Bitcoin right now trading below $113,000, as you guys can see on the screen. And some of you are asking, why isn't Bitcoin moving upwards? Well, it hit a new all-time high of 123K, as many of you know, and this was early in July. And what happened, it hit the overbought zone. Notice where my mouse cursor is, right? It hit the overbought zone. And what we've seen historically, every time Bitcoin's in the overbought zone after a major rally, it goes into the oversold. It has to pull back. Now, it doesn't mean it needs to go all the way to the oversold below a 30, because if you know your market principles here, anything above 70 is overbought. Anything at 70 or above is overbought. Anything at 30 and below is oversold. Look at the recent correction in June. After hitting a new high of 112K, it didn't even go below 38 on the RSI. It bounced from there and it went up to 74 on the RSI chart here, and that was the 123K move. So you notice the cyclical pattern here with the price movement. So when you have that relative strength index, the RSI, get overheated, the natural direction of the market is to cool down. You have that correction. That is what's taking place here. A very healthy pullback. You're going to see narratives come out there. Oh, no, it's over. This tariff, this war, that. We've seen this time and time again. It's why I was telling you guys, even in the tariff crash, the bull market's not over. The key levels have not been broken. And so the RSI is just doing its normal thing here. So it looks like Bitcoin wants to go a bit more down. We could go maybe to a 35 on the RSI chart before we bounce and keep going higher. Or we go to 30, right? There's a complete reset of the sentiment because recently the sentiment went from greed to neutral, but now it's back to greed. Maybe it needs to go into a little bit of fear. Maybe some people need to feel some fear, and then we have the reset because there's so much bullishness in the market. And then it's not just Bitcoin. If you look at XRP, what do you see? Very overheated in the RSI. Look at that. The RSI on the daily chart is in the green. When it's in the oversold, it's extreme oversold, it's in the red. So this is extreme overbought, guys. So I hope you understand what's happening here. Look at the cyclical pattern. It's all cyclical market movements here. So XRP following Bitcoin, of course, but it was more overheated than Bitcoin. Same thing with Ethereum. Look at Ethereum, overbought, very overheated. And then if you look at total 3, which is the majority of the altcoins, excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins, also overbought. Guys, simple pattern recognition will tell you what the hell is happening here. I see that when the market gets overheated, it moves the other direction. Then when it gets sold and it's like the sellers are exhausted, then it starts rallying again. And this is the sentiment part of markets people miss. They think, oh, this is big news that just came out today, the market must pump. No, it depends where the market is in the cycle. Now, the news aligns with us coming out of the oversold zone. Yes, the market will pump and rally. That's why you see that happen sometimes, but it's not something that must happen every time. This is where you got to go to the data, right? What is the chart showing us? Oh, market's oversold. Oh, market's overbought. Here's what to expect. So keep these market principles in the back of your mind, folks. It's so important. And then, the inverse of all this is Tether and Bitcoin dominance. So if you look at Bitcoin dominance, it was rallying while the assets were cooling down and correcting. So we have confirmation as to what's going on. And here's an example of an oversold zone that the Bitcoin dominance was in. Look at it in the red, right? As opposed to the green we saw with ETH and XRP. So complete opposite happening, the inverse. So please keep that in mind as to what the hell is happening. If you're ever confused, you can just pull up TradingView. It's free. Go to your asset and look, where's this asset in the movement of the market as far as sentiment, and is it overbought? Is it oversold? And that can tell you where the next directional pattern may come. Now, we're not dealing with certainties here. We're dealing with probabilities, because black swan events can change your whole thesis and change the movement of markets. Obviously, just look at the tariff crash that took place earlier this year. So Bitcoin dominance coming out of the oversold zone while risk assets are getting out of the overbought zone. Eventually, there's going to be the equilibrium, and then the inverse is going to happen, right? So it's very simple, guys. Sometimes people try to find the most complicated narrative, the most complicated thing to say, because, oh no, the markets, this is happening, there's 100 things. No, it's very simple. And remember, narratives follow price. So when the price is pumping, you'll hear a whole bunch of narrative, utility, this money, this adoption. When the price is going down, oh no, the tariffs, the war, right? People need a narrative. We need stories. I understand we're human beings and we like to have an explanation and stories, but sometimes the simplest thing, like the markets being overheated, is just that's it. There's no super narrative. There's no fancy explanation. It's just, hey, the market's overheated, something we've seen time and time again, and then it comes out of that zone. So look at what happened in May when Bitcoin ran up, right? And the market was rallying. Notice that when Bitcoin dominance was falling here, it went to the oversold zone. Then Bitcoin dominance started rising, finding strength. Then it started going down again. And that's when the next rally happened. So what we could see happen here is that this finds some strength. I don't think it's going to go all the way back up, but because I do believe there's going to be a big rally this month to new highs for Bitcoin and altcoins. So we could see a little bit of movement upwards and then an eventual move downwards. Let me draw it on the chart here so you guys understand what I'm saying. So, we could see something like this and then the next major rally. So just just expect that, guys. It's all cyclical. And if you look at USDT dominance, right? Also doing the reverse, and we're waiting for it to break, below 3.7%, because I think that's going to send the market in a frenzy. We're going to see a big rally. So again, you could see something similar for USDT dominance. So again, it's inverse to what the assets are doing, right? So folks, that's all that's happening. There's no massive conspiracy. There's no super narrative here. Is simply the market was overheated, and the data shows that. Now, if you want to dispute that, you got to show me why it's different than the other times it's played out. Please show me why, and don't tell me a narrative fairy tale story, right? We want to be educated investors here. So that's what's happening, folks. This is where you have to be patient. And it may be time to say, you know what, it's summer. I'm stepping away from the charts for a bit, and then I'll come back in a couple of weeks. And I believe that in a couple of weeks, we're going to see some major rallies. And as I was sharing over the past week or so, and in the recent newsletter, Bitcoin could go touch 109, 110K, possibly 106. I don't know if it will get there. I think there's a lower probability it gets to 106, but don't be surprised if we get to 110. And that would be, again, within the normal corrective flow of the market, right? Because it still has room to go to the oversold zone, 30, the RSI 30 and below, super oversold. In addition, it's not just the crypto market. Look at the stock market, the S&P 500, also in the overbought zone, also correcting. Nothing unusual here. Again, if you look at these charts over time, you see the cyclical pattern. It's simple pattern recognition. NASDAQ also oversold, also correcting here. So again, nothing unusual, nothing crazy here. Now, I do believe that this move back, is a bullish retest. And like I said, I'm anticipating higher prices this month, that Bitcoin's going to rally. I know some of you are going to say, but Tony, this is not the usual pattern for the markets. And it's what we've been talking about, that the tariff crash pushed the timeline forward by 2 months. So it pushed pushed it back, because usually it's sell in May, go away. We were anticipating major rally in April into May and a bit into June, then the sell off, and then it's boring July and August. Well, it hasn't been a boring July, and I believe it's not going to be a boring August. So I believe we're going to see a bounce this month. Bitcoin goes to new highs. But then as we enter late August into early September, we see the next correction, and then a bottoming out mid-September, then a major rally into Q4. And you may say, well, how do you, what are some of the other factors that will, confirm this? Well, one of them is, of course, global liquidity. We're seeing right now that it is hitting a top, right? As of right now, the data as of today, in November, plus Congress is going to pass legislation by end of September into October. So you have the huge narrative for the mainstream media to bring in a lot of retail liquidity. So you have these big things, in alignment here. So that's why I'm looking at it. And in addition, as I've shared with you guys in my recent newsletters, and once again, make sure you are subscribed, folks. The Elliott wave models. Let me pull it up here for you guys. I'm trying to find a chart that I shared most recently. It's just easier to show you visually. Okay, here we go. Total crypto market cap, Elliott wave model, it puts us towards the end of the year. So if you know your market principles and all these different patterns and so forth, you know what this is, right? Now, we don't just use one data point, we use multiple, because we don't want to have tunnel vision, because one data point may fail. That's why I'm sharing multiple with you guys. In addition, total crypto market cap, if you're using Fibonacci levels, notice that the potential top of this market could put us near the 4.236 extension, which is just about $10 trillion market cap, and then a huge bear market correction. So that's what I'm looking at. In addition, for some who are saying, are we still in the bull market? Yes, we are, because we are still above the 200-day moving average. Again, simple pattern recognition. When we are above the 200-day moving average, this green line here, we are in a bull market. We're in the bull market territory. When we are below it, going in a downtrend, we are in a bear market. Look at 2022. Just zoom out. Go look at the charts, and you'll see the same patterns have played out over and over and over, guys. So these are things to keep in mind. In addition, we were just talking about Fibonacci levels. Bitcoin in the past bull markets has ran up to the 3.618, sometimes going a bit over the 3.618. And right now we're just above the 1.618 here, right? So look at the previous bull market. It went into that purple 3.618 and then to the dark red into the 4.236 extension there. So we're not even there yet. And so that's why I believe there's more room for upside. And again, I'm not just using this one data point to validate my thesis. I'm using multiple: global liquidity, the timing of the crypto legislation getting passed in the fall, right? And all these different factors, Fibonacci, and in addition to Elliott wave. So that's what I'm thinking, folks. And this is where, once again, just don't panic. Just walk away from the markets for a couple of weeks. If things start rallying sooner, then you come back and look at it, right? But right now, it's just like, okay, let's see what happens. Now, something's interesting here on the global liquidity mapping out. We're seeing a bit of a bounce, but I don't know if this is actually a reversal to new highs. If it is, then that would be really good, because we could see higher prices. And there's one thing I forgot to mention, guys. Right now, the Fed futures is looking at a rate cut in September. So again, another factor that could drive mainstream media hype, easy money cycle type narrative, because the job numbers recently were updated and they came in really bad. So the Fed, being data dependent, I think they're going to cut because the job numbers went down. So that's another factor. And we'll see if global liquidity continues rising. It's possible it can bounce here and go higher into the end of the year before ultimately breaking down. But let's see. Bitcoin continues to follow. Risk assets are following. The stock market's following. Real estate's following. Precious metals following, right? It's all driven by global liquidity, folks. So as always, folks, don't be emotional about the markets. Just use the data. Again, narratives follow price. When the price starts pumping, you get tons of positive bullish narratives. Oh, utility, this, that, right? When the price is going down, you get negative narratives. Oh, this, that. You got to make sure you filter through all of that and you're looking at the data, right? And you don't even need to be on this live stream to go look at it. You can go to tradingview.com. It's free sign up. Pull up the Bitcoin chart or the XRP chart and see, hey, where are we at? You could do a Fibonacci extension model on here. You can look at the RSI. You can go look at global liquidity and all these things to get an idea of what's happening. Folks, before we continue, check out our sponsors. Uphold, great place to buy, sell, trade, stake crypto. They have over 300 plus cryptocurrencies. They offer staking on 20 plus crypto assets. I've been a user since 2018. Great platform. Check them out. Check out Trezor. They make beautiful hardware wallets that make it easy for you to safely store your crypto. I'm a big believer in self-custody. Trezor were the pioneers of crypto hardware wallets, and they support all your top coins. They even have a hand-holding service you can check out. And if you use the code Thinking Crypto, all one word, Thinking Crypto, you can get 5% off. Check out Proppy, leading the charge with putting real estate on chain. I'm a Proppy token holder. I have been since 2018, and they're putting deeds and creating on the blockchain. They're creating NFTs for properties, and you can buy and sell real estate on Proppy using crypto. So it's pretty amazing. We know the future is tokenization of assets, right? So real estate, the world's largest asset class, will be tokenized. So Proppy's leading that charge. Check out VeChain. They're a great enterprise layer 1 blockchain, getting huge adoption from big brands around the world. They're partnered with the UFC, Dana White. Dana White recently mentioned he bought like $1 million in VET tokens. I'm a VET token holder. And they're working with many big brands, BMW, Walmart China, Givenchy, and much more. So check them out. Also check out iTrust Capital, great platform where you can set up an IRA and invest in crypto and get the huge tax benefits, right? If you know your 401k IRA type of setups and the benefits you can get there. They also have a premium custody account where you can safely store your crypto. They're using bank tier crypto custody. So I would say this is like the second safest option behind self-custody. They use like Coinbase's institutional custody, Coinbase Prime, which BlackRock and all these institutions use. And if you sign up using my link, you can get a $100 funding bonus. So check out iTrust Capital. You can roll over your 401k, your IRA, and much more, and get the tax benefits, folks. So really great platform. Check them out. Link will be in the description. Okay, so folks, like I said, patience is the key here. We are in the normal cyclical pattern of corrections, and we're going to find a bottom soon enough, and then we're going to rally. So let's see here. I'm going to answer some questions. No name for me, man. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Happy to help. Ranter says, don't let emotions get to you, my friends. Remain patient and firm. Altcoin season will come. Absolutely. Ranter, you can't be emotional about the markets because the markets will wreck you. Okay, let's see here. Jim Fritz says, have you stopped using the Ledger Nano since the breach that stated they have the keys to your wallet? You just bought a Trezor using your code. How many wallets you use? Yeah, Jim, I've kind of ramped down my usage of Ledger because of some of the issues they've had. And I use primarily the Trezor now. So I have both, to be quite frank. The Nano X, the Trezor Safe 5. I still have the Ledger, what do you call it, Nano S, but I ramped down my usage here because Ledger said they're not supporting that device. So I don't really like what they're doing there. So that's why I moved over to Trezor. Abdul says, Tony, I'm holding my altcoins and they are bleeding very badly. I don't know when they are going to pump me. Your opinion, altcoins would go up. Yeah, so let's look at Total 3. Like I was sharing earlier, Total 3 is the altcoin market with excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins. So it's the raw data around altcoins, right? That's why we're using it, because we don't want the numbers to be skewed by the top 2 assets or stablecoins. So what we saw that after Bitcoin hit a new all-time high of 123K, altcoins rallied. Now, the majority of that liquidity was XRP and Ethereum. I know many of you are looking for, altcoin number 1,000 or something to rally, but we're not there at that stage of the market yet. I do believe we're going to see the majority of the altcoins rally, but there are more altcoins out there now, and there may not be enough liquidity for all of them. So just keep that in mind, right? Just being realistic. So even like, certain altcoins that you may think may rally may not. And I'm not talking about the ones that are in like the top 100. I'm talking like, again, like altcoin number 950 or something like that. So just keep that in mind. The further down the list, the less known those altcoins are, the less you may see them pump. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying the probability is there because the market's much larger now. But guys, so the altcoin market did rally here, but it corrected along with Bitcoin. But the good thing, as I was highlighting earlier, we are above the 200-day moving average. That's a good, solid sign of strength. And I do believe we're going to rally from here following Bitcoin, but it's going to move in phases. So I mentioned that I expect a rally happening this month to new highs, I believe that the altcoin market will hit new highs this month. Maybe it goes to near $1 trillion or 900 billion, right? Again, excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins. That's what this data is. So after that rally, like I said, a correction late August into early September, then a move to the ultimate blow off top, that could take us to higher heights, over $1 trillion for sure. So I think you got to be patient here. Don't get shaken out, folks. Don't get shaken out. There's no invalidation to the bull market, and the market will play with your emotions. That's what the whales love to do. They squeeze as much liquidity out from people that play the markets both ways. They'll go long. They know the charts better than you. They know the metrics better than you. So they'll say, oh, look, the market's hitting its overbought zone, right? In addition to other metrics, let's start taking profits and then let's short it. So they make money on both sides. And that's how they play the markets. That's why you see a lot of cyclical patterns. The market makers and the whales, that's how they operate. That's why I say don't follow too much of the narratives. Adoption is nice, speculation is nice, but don't get too caught up in the narratives where you're blinded by the facts of the market and the cyclical patterns, right? I see a lot of people saying that there's one going on about utility. Oh, this is a super cycle. There will never be a bear market. Utility, right? And it's like, history is not on your side. Have you ever looked at the gold market and the stock market? They have full regulations. They have ETFs. They've been around longer. They have more liquidity than crypto, yet they experience corrections and bear markets. So watch out. People will drive a ton of narratives in your head, and it's like these fairy tales, and we get caught up in it because we all want to make more money, but you got to balance it, right? And I'm not saying that to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm just trying to help you because I went through that phase. I was caught up in the narratives, and I'm like, man, wait a minute. This person said this, super cycle. This person said this, all the money and all kinds of crap. And it's like, wait a minute. That's just a story. That's just a narrative. What is happening on the charts? What's happening with on-chain data? What's happening with the macro? Because just look at 2022, right? Fed started tightening, and then all markets started going down. The S&P 500, crypto, everything. So you have to understand liquidity, what the Fed's doing. That's the macro. That's the central banks, and that impacts markets and risk assets overall. Game Tape Central says, need to get going. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get going this month. Don't worry. Jom Tien sends, hello from Thailand. Great to have you. Mace says, hey, Tony, are you still looking to for an interview with a zero knowledge expert? Yeah, sure. If you want to suggest someone. Body Art Studio 13. I have 4,700 XRP and have owned a tattoo shop for 16 years. Got myself in about 50K debt, but I do not want to touch my crypto. What should I do? So, Body Art, I can't give you that advice because, everybody's financial situation is different. Obviously in a hypothetical scenario, if you need money right away for your livelihood and so forth, you got to do what you got to do. But, investments, you want to have a long-term outlook. And I do believe we're in the final phase. I don't know if you're saying who told you $1,000 each. I would be careful with that. That's a very outlandish price prediction. Could XRP hit $1,000 each eventually? Sure. Maybe that's 10, 15 years away, because you have to understand the cyclical pattern of markets. I'm personally looking at $8 to $10 for this cycle. So just keep that in mind. Gonzalo Escobar says, ADA airdrop only for private wallets. A lot of us feel discriminated going against Cardano and Hoskinson's principles. Could you let them know? I will try. I'll try to get Charles Hoskinson back on the podcast. I've had him on multiple times, so I'll try. But I honestly didn't even participate or know about that. I haven't seen a lot of strong news from Cardano. I'm not saying it won't perform well in the bull market, but we need to see more for sure. James Canoy says, hey, Tony, I took 4 flyers on smaller caps, and I'm trying to 20 to 30x. Have you ever looked at Mamo Black? Thanks. James, I have not heard of any of those. And it's like I said earlier, right? You go further on the risk curve with some of these coins. Not saying you can't make money. I'm not saying that. You just understand it's more riskier. But certainly, the upside could do really well. So, but I honestly have not invested in any new tokens or anything like that. I was buying, in the bottom in December 2022, as well as early January 2023. Some of the newer coins I added in January 2023 was like Fetch.ai and Render, and those paid off really well. But I have not bought anything new. Maybe with the exception of Ondo. Ondo was the most recent that I added to my portfolio in a dip. So, yeah. Life with Darnell says, what's preventing banks from offering seamless crypto on and off ramps? And are they waiting for regulatory clarity or building the infrastructure quietly behind the scenes? I would say both, because Life with Darnell, I don't know if you just saw the news that came out last week. JP Morgan partnered with Coinbase. So they have joined forces so that people can easily invest in crypto. PNC Bank says they are launching crypto trading. That news came out last week as well. And they're working with Coinbase as well. So the banks are launching, and I think they're not going to do, a complete full rollout yet until the market structure bill is passed, the Clarity Act, which is expected to pass in late September into early October. So the banks are doing their thing, but they can't do it overnight. And I think a lot of them couldn't touch crypto until the Trump administration came along, and then they have to build it. They have to figure out their try to do trial and error, research and development. So the banks are here building, but it's going to take some time, of course. And by the way, I published my interview with Robinhood's CEO this morning, guys. Check it out. They're an example of a non-native crypto company building with crypto. So they're doing some amazing things. It was an in-person interview I did in my studio. So check it out, folks. It's a good one. And it was just published this morning. Folks, don't forget to sign up for my free email newsletter. I include a lot of chart and market insights data into the newsletter on a weekly basis. It's 100% free. It's on Substack. So check it out, sign up. And once again, I only put out a newsletter once per week, so you won't get bombarded. And you can always go back to these newsletters to see, important crypto news. Like, for example, Darnell, you were asking about the banks. I highlighted here what the banks are doing, the recent news. I include the charts and what I'm looking at and where I think the market's at. So be sure you guys sign up there. It's free. Also, if you want to expand your knowledge about crypto, check out my course at mycryptocourse.com. And of course, you can check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital. So folks, again, it's a bit of a waiting game here. By the way, I have to wrap up soon. This is a short stream. Apologize that it's short, but busy day. Lots of things going on, interviews and much more. David R. Moreland says Vine. Yeah, I heard about the Vine and the relaunch there, but I honestly have not looked into it. So I can't give an educated opinion on it. Yeah, we are going to make it down the street. Yeah, look, I'm going to agree with you there. Be careful with the narratives, folks. Be careful. Side Effect says, bro, when are you going to have Lehman Beard back on? I'm going to try to get him soon. I'm a big H-bar holder. You guys know that. I'm bullish on H-bar. It's been showing a lot of strength in this bull market. I'm hoping for a dollar, if possible, if it gets up there, $1 plus. But we were seeing good signs, very, very strong movements on the chart, as well as not far from its all-time high. So it's not going to take a ton of liquidity to get out of, this, or to go to new highs. Okay, someone is asking about Cardano. I do believe Cardano is going to run this cycle, but it has not shown a lot of strength. We were just looking at H-bar. H-bar is higher up on the Fibonacci extensions, showing a lot of volume, but Cardano, not a lot right now. But once again, that's not to say it can't run later in the bull market. Yeah, I'm trying to get them, but still waiting. You know what I mean? Jim says, I remember years ago you had a meetup at an outdoor bar somewhere. Any chance of another one during this bull run? You know, Jim, that's good timing. You brought that up. I was thinking about doing something in the fall, you know, kind of the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, doing something in New York City. So I'll definitely let you guys know. And, you know, it'll be a free event, of course, have drinks and food and all that. And, you know, we can celebrate a bit as new prices come on in. Kroll says, hey, Tony, have you ever thought about to make a podcast with Black Swan Capitalist or maybe with Quincy Jones? I don't know who Black Swan Capitalist is. And Quincy Jones, is that the guy that works with XDC or something like that? I'm not sure, you know, who some of these folks are. All right, folks, I got to wrap it up. Apologies, but just wanted to come on here and let you guys know everything is still on track. Don't panic. Bull market's still on its way. I believe a rally is coming later this month. So as of right now, let the market do its thing. Coming out of the overbought zone, heading to the oversold. You're seeing it for Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, all under chart, showing the simple cyclical pattern playing out here. And once again, I believe higher highs are coming this month. You know, just again, don't look at the charts of the price until we start moving up, right? Because there's no point. There's no point right now. But the bull market's still intact, so don't panic, even if we go a bit lower. Thank you for watching and tuning in. I appreciate you all. Wishing you all the best of luck in this bull market cycle, that you make incredible returns. Check out our sponsors, Uphold, Trezor, Proppy, VeChain, iTrust. All the links will be in the description. It really helps support the podcast, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you all later.